So the next session that we've got the group meeting. I don't know if Anne-Kristin or Nikolaos would prefer to say a few words about this. I can see the instructions there on the slide, because I think this part was more your project, your idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. I think it's just to give you now the time to learn to know some new people and discuss a little bit things that you think, especially on, like you've been doing in a normal seminar. Because as I said in the beginning, this is also to try to make ourselves better in communicating over with Teams instead of traveling and meeting. So just try to have a nice time, and then summarize your output in a few statements so that we can come together in half an hour.
I think the first group one, that was led by Atle. If you're there, Atle.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
Yeah, hello.
Hello. I will make a brief minute, and half an hour for meeting is. It could be prolonged. I think we could have a longer discussion. It was not much time to talk for each of the participants. But anyway, it was nice. And everyone, they were expressed positive thoughts about this webinar, and I found it very interesting to follow the different presentations. And although it would be maybe better if you all could meet in Greece as the original plan was, so this was a good alternative. So we discussed a little bit about the first bullet point, and what could be a change for the next period or something. Could be that we could have more practical, have more focus on practical solutions, as for instance machinery, and what kind of machineries farmers actually needs to take our solutions into practice, and also more clear what practical solution we could offer and take into use for farmers. We were talking about the different kind of fertilizers, and fertilizers which could be a lot of in one place could be a limited resource in other place. So what works in the Nordic countries could, for instance, not work in the southern countries, and vice versa. Some had some few challenges with the COVID, and were a little bit delayed by that, but there were no complaints. They seemed to be able to catch up the lost time. Most people were just following the original plans, and there were no big needs for changing for the changes for the next period. Yes.
Great, thank you very much for that. Christina from Group 2.
Yes, well, in fact, I would agree that 30 minutes is really not enough to get to know each other and discuss and actually think of the answers to those questions that were suggested. So it would be nice maybe in future to have more time to have discussions and to get to know each other in terms of research. So that would be really great. So the other thing that we had was a technical difficulty. So I was trying to connect to Teams and I couldn't get there. So probably there was some technical issue that I wasn't aware of. But ultimately we had like 15 minutes to get to know each other and exchange opinions on the webinar. So it was a really good and nice opportunity to meet people from from other work package, and also people who are involved in the project. So it was a great idea to do this way, given the circumstances of COVID-19. The other thing that we discussed was the overall opinion or overall opinion on the webinar, and we agreed that that it was a very good idea to set it up that way, and to have a chance to listen to other researchers from 2 different work packages. So it was very interesting. The results we received so far are very promising, and there was also indication that it would be probably a good recommendation to go even further into larger experiments, larger plots well, preferably organized at organic farms. And there was also a question connected to the problem that we always have, how to encourage farmers to get engaged in bigger experiments. So we have an option to actually get them pay. And also other things that were raised here, because I tried to get everything that was discussed and write it down, but definitely a very good and very positive opinion on the webinar, and also the chance that we had to know each other and to listen to the presentation. So that was very briefly, but then again, we had really short time to have this discussion. Okay, thank you.
Great, thanks, Christina. Yeah, I think we could all have done, we all like to get chatting, and it's not like a normal conference where we've all had a chance to have a cup of coffee together beforehand and hang around in corridors, that kind of thing. So yeah, definitely. Margie, are you there?
I'm here, but I'm afraid we didn't manage to get into our meeting room. And by the time I got in, there was nobody else there. So I was a bit of Billy No Mates. We just joined other groups, basically. So I've got nothing to report.
Okay, no, that's okay. Well, hopefully the comments from your group will be mopped up in some of the others. So group 4, so that's our group.
Yeah.
I have to say, for about the first 5 minutes, I was trying to sort out email queries, but so my colleagues might want to chip in. But the main things that I think that we came up with, I think at least 2 of us commented that it was really interesting to see other people's work, especially maybe the work of either work that's very, very different to our own that we didn't really know much about, or in my case, it was interesting to see the parallel work going on. So colleagues in Germany who are doing something similar to us but different, and people in Turkey who are doing very similar to trials to ours but in quite different conditions. That was interesting. A bit about the wood fibre that he's using, so, and that was just a bit of an interesting technical conversation about the benefits of spruce over hardwood. Mahesh, who's here from our International Advisory Board, he had some quite interesting points to make. He was talking about the differences between a lot of the research that's going on in India at the moment, quite similar challenges to ourselves, but being dealt with quite differently and slightly different issues. He's doing a lot of work on earthworms and soil health at the moment from that point of view. And Kristin, have you got anything else, anything that I missed, because I wasn't giving it my full attention for certainly part of our session?
Yeah, just to add on a little bit, that Mahesh commented that it's nice to see that now focus in, because he's animal scientist also, so now he commented that it's nice to see that in Europe now we are again focusing that the calf should stay with the cow, which is quite normal in India, and that we should learn from. Then he had a very interesting question: why you talk so much about other fertilizers? Why you don't appreciate the cow manure? Because that is also something they do a lot in India. And then of course we appreciate that, but it's like we don't have enough of it. So that was a very brief overview from our discussion.
Great, thank you. Group 5, Francis, are you there?
I'm here, yes.
I think we kind of talked a bit about the LCA and kind of sort of interpreting the results from the actual trials. And I think we felt that more information is really needed to do a better job with the LCAs to confirm that the best treatment in a particular trial really is the optimal solution, because, you know, to an extent, you know, it kind of depends where you draw the lines as to what kind of conclusions that you end up drawing. And in particular, more information is needed to evaluate system solutions, rather than just looking at sort of kind of one product versus another, and also to consider inputs that are not normally considered, particularly energy, both sort of for kind of tractor fuel energy, but also energy for you know, for tunnels and greenhouses, and also the kind of the kind of embodied energy in particular kinds of infrastructure. That's perhaps, you know, maybe more important sometimes than people appreciate. So more information and more consideration of those things to better evaluate the results, I think, is what we talked about.
Yeah, that's really relevant to everyone, I think, and to our colleagues in other work packages, because it is kind of, it does pull everything together and tells us a lot on top of just our trials. So yeah, thank you. Kirsty from Group 6, are you here?
I'm here. You hear me?
Yes, we do. Thank you. Hello.
Hey, yes. As many of the others have said, it was quite a short time for the group meeting, but it was also just to test the system. I think that was the intention. And my question is, if there is a better platform than Teams to do this kind of meeting where you have a seminar and then go into groups. I know that Zoom is much better for that, because then the organizer can in just a few seconds split into groups, and then we are on the groups, and then can also take everybody back into the big meeting. Just as a little comment to that. And it was nice to be in small groups, so it's actually a very nice way to have a meeting like this. First a seminar and then groups. Some comments that we had in the group was to work package 2, just to have a better flow in the rest of the project period. It was not clear what they are doing, and there was a wish of more coordination in the work package 2 and cooperation with the other work packages. Another point that we talked about was we were all quite surprised that we actually have the government set allowed levels of plastic applied to soil. So we thought that for a topic to work on in the future would be that we should work towards zero plastic in the soil. Not that we actually can allow levels of plastic. Another topic that is in developing, because there's a great development in people interested in vegan food, is to work more with the vegan fertilizers, because there's also quite a lot of confusion connected to this topic. Yeah, it was also a point about the different research that's been done on organic plots according to the mulches, with different results. I think maybe one of the others in the group should supply me with more on this topic, because I'm not quite sure if I quite understood the discussion there.
No, I think that it's not me, it's not my comment, but I think that it does seem that sometimes you can see the same issue with an opposite perspective, depending on what you are focusing on. And this is enriching, is good, and it's a part of this conference of today. I think was that.
Yeah, and we also had a little discussion on the dissemination from the project. Maybe more of the technical sheets that have been made. Something to discuss. So that was from our group. Thank you.
Yeah, super. Yeah, thank you, Kirsten. Some really good points there. Thank you very much. Group 8, Sabine?
Yeah.
Sorry, group 7, sorry.
No problem. We finally managed to come in, and it was quite nice to work in a smaller group. And I think we also agreed that it was quite short. We were, I think, the latest group coming back to the big auditorium. So, but finally we made it, and we kind of thought how to develop the ideas further from the project and what we heard today. So on the short-term perspective and on a longer-term perspective. And first of all, we did a short brainstorming on what we found most impressive today. And we came up with the topic, the different blight control methods and the weed control of by mulches. And then also the plastic issue. On the one hand side, the use of degradable plastic, not only for the mulches, but also for other products as a new idea, so to say. And then also the issue of the plastic in the fertilizers. And then we were also discussing a little bit about the biochar, which could be also included in the pot trials and things like that. And then we were also thinking about what can be done in the other 2 years of the projects to come. And there was one big issue also about the peat alternatives, so that it would make sense also to have a look at commercially available products which are already in the market as a kind of control, so that we also have a short-term solution at the end of the project, which we can hand over to the farmers, because obviously there's still a lot to work on with the fibers. And then there would be also another option to go and contact companies which are already using these wood fibers, just to speed up the process of further development within the project. And then we also had the idea to have a closer look on the compost and the biogas digestates, exactly for the plastic topic, which Kirsti had been mentioning before, so that we collect the standards of the different countries concerning the current status of plastic, and also to really reach that aim, which has been addressed before, that there should be zero plastic from our digestates or compost sources. Then we were thinking about what else can be done, and we came also up with the maybe very normal problem of that when we are working now with a lot of solutions to phase out, but the problem is that if we want to phase in, we are much too far from implementation. So we would kind of need different additional projects where we could follow up our alternatives to really make them fit for the market. So because we won't reach that in the other 2 years, so we would need their ideas to go beyond. And then there were also some ideas about new ways of cooperation between farmers, also organic farmers, to go into something like bioresource companies. That would be probably also an interesting topic for a future project. Because farmers are already cooperating for the production of products, but maybe they should also cooperate for the production of resources used for fertilization, for example. And I think that was it now. Did I forget anything? I give that back to the group.
No, it's not from my point.
Okay, so then that was our contribution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah, thank you, Sabine. Yeah, and obviously Life Beyond Organic Plus as well. It's good for us to be having those conversations as well. Thank you.
Please turn on the camera as long as you speak to see yours.
Okay, I'm not sure how stable my connection is, so.
Anyway, for the next one.
Yeah. For the next one.
Okay, so Rafi from Group 8, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Hello.
Hello. Well, for the first question, we said that we should do more experiments as planned, and we discussed if we should really make these experiments with different conditions, like temperature, moisture, and this probably will be achieved if you do experiments in greenhouses. But we know that greenhouses can change the conditions in the northern and the southern countries. Another idea was that perhaps the plastic, the transparent plastic, could be used for solarization in Almeria, in the south of Spain. This application can be useful. The second question about plant protection, it was interesting. It is interesting to work with chitosan. And another question is the copper thing that we saw that it comes from manure and also for phytosanitary treatments. So really, it's a very important topic. Third question was about the future projects or new ideas, and people said that probably we have to think about new products like clips that were shown and how to use agroforestry wastes in a more extensive way. And also, it's interesting to work in managing the conditions of the cultures in order to achieve better results. Another issue was to know more about conditions of degradation of plastics. I mean, if, for example, changing moisture and temperature of the soil, we will have different degradability of these plastics. And also we said that probably peat alternatives that mainly are organic could be applied into soil, for example, in the southern regions of Spain, in which soil have very low organic matter content. And in general, well, I think also another issue was to gain greater insight in the topics we are dealing with. I mean, we have to know in the future how these alternatives work, or who are the mechanisms that act for being a good alternative. And I think it's all. If someone of the group wants to add something, you are welcome.
No, thanks, Rafi. No, there's another interesting round-up, some interesting points there again about how it all fits together. Group 9, have we got Erica with us?
Yes. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. So we discussed mostly about the follow-up proposals to the project. So I'm going to be mentioning names since we had very specific proposals. Hugh Block, he works for the Soil Association. So if you need to correct anything I'm saying, please let me know. So they're doing an unofficial trial for growing a variety of mushrooms on wood chips, which could not only help with closing the resource loop in forestry, but also with mushroom yield and aiding crop yield by looking at beneficial symbiotic relationships, helping microbial activity, and helping the degradation of the wood chips. So he said that if anyone has information, they are invited to contact Q. Gabriella also had a very interesting proposal. She said she would be mounting a project surrounding the effect and relationship between alternative treatments to copper and their metabolites, like biological treatments, and their effect on the soil microbiome. So could we use these to create symbiotic relationships or beneficial relationships? And since right now there is not on the effect of alternatives on soil microbiome, it could be a very good follow-up proposal. She also liked the fact that Organic Plus allowed us to work partly in the field and in the lab, and for a variety of crops. Carolyn and I found the presentation by Casper really interesting regarding the fact that they measured the quantity of plastic in the digestate, and that this would be a very good factor to investigate in the digestate that Carolyn is producing and her team. And it could also be a really good additional information to complement the LCA, considering that we don't yet consider this as part of our research. So if anyone else wanted to add, please go ahead.
No, it sounds like they were all happy with that. So wonderful. Yeah, thank you very much, Erica. And again, the theme of the plastics comes up. I found Casper's talk interesting as well. And it sort of, yeah, I've probably got questions for him afterwards. So yeah, really good. Thank you. So the final group was group number 10, and that was led by Jens Pinahos. Hello.
Yes, but he's not here, so Klaus here. I will present the results.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, the discussion, our group started with some members saying that what we have heard today was a very reductionistic approach, where you look at the individual components and, of course, examine them closely. But we have to remember that we have to put it into the whole system of a farm, the system approach. And of course, that was sort of a way that we also discussed a little about that's what we are trying in VP6 to put these new inputs, these new way of doing things into the context of a whole farm. Either we are doing it with the feasibility or the sustainability or the LCA. So that's, but a number of people expressed that is an important issue. We also, there was talk about standards. That's also an important issue that we don't have to, that we will not have to forget. Implementation of the results to the farmers, again, system approach, how you provide guidelines for how they implement these new inputs. We talked about how the cooperation between the work packages. One example, I think, is that, for example, with the LCA, they have been very good at extracting data from the other work package to be used in the LCA analysis. And that, of course, is a very important point for such a project. Another issue raised was, there was somebody saying there was a lack of material characterization. There was a more need for test and analysis, and then because then we are better able to predict and prevent process in the natural system. The last thing we talked about was barriers, because many times in such projects, sometimes there is not enough time to look at the barriers for implementing the things that are being investigated, and I think that is many times the case. But I think again that anyway, that's what we are trying in VP6 to provide some guidelines how you can implement these new technologies and these new input systems into the whole farm system. And then, of course, we don't also have to remember that even if we substitute some of the contentious input with more environmental friendly inputs, still we need to optimize the usage of these inputs. So all the technologies, decision support systems, and precision farming methods that we are using in conventional farming, that of course also applies to the organic farming system. I think that was the main points.
Good, thank you very much, Klaus. Yeah, really interesting feedback there about thinking the whole cycle, and are we replacing something which is genuinely better from every perspective, or what are the compromises? So yeah, thank you very much. Right, I think I'm going to hand over to Ulrich now to close the day. But thanks once again for everybody that's come and taken part. It's been a really upbeat meeting for me, really productive, really interesting, and possibly something we should look into doing again. Yeah, thank you. Are you there, Ulrich?
Yes, I'm here. Can you see me? Yes. Yeah. So I mean, it's difficult to sum it up or close it. So I start with the most obvious thing. I thank you, Judith, for kind of running such a nice ship and doing that. Normally, I would give you some little present, but that's obviously not possible in this world. But I also want to thank specifically Nikos and Anne-Kristin, who have kind of really organized this webinar, and it really complements in some way what was done before with the livestock work in a slightly different format. But as was said earlier, we're all trying these kind of formats, and we definitely will learn and take all this feedback from everyone on board, and the project has still more time to go. Maybe I should say that. I didn't say that earlier. We are in the process of applying for a 6 months extension, and in the likely case that will be granted, the project will still run for 2 years from now. So it initially was planned to end in April, 30th of April, and then it will run 6 months longer in October. So just in 2 years from now. So we have time to make the arrangement, the changes, but we are also thinking ahead. So, and what was discussed earlier in terms of the relationship, how close we are in terms of using the applications on farm. This is from the funding funding model is a RIA, research and innovation action, and there are also innovation actions in itself. So a different type of funding. So our funding was still, more research, not research heavy, but research was a really important part. And if you do innovation actions, research has a very small part. And I feel now, also what Sabine said, this is something we still need. After Organic Plus, we will not have solved all these problems. There's still the issues with the barriers, the implementation, and I think it would probably be a good idea to have an innovation action. Well, ideally with the 2 projects together to get that further into the pipeline with farmers. So that maybe is a bit of wishful thinking, but I think that's definitely necessary. On that level, we also look into another project which I should want to share with everyone, which is on reducing fertilizers and pesticides. We have communicated with some of you, and if you are interested in that, it's a New Horizon call. It won't be exactly the continuation. It will start earlier, but there are further ideas, and I think what was really good for me to see how people really work together, you know, how the material from Germany found its way to Turkey and then back again, and kind of, you know, I think we are kind of a well-oiled team now, so it would be a shame not to work together in the future. At least I'd like to. So maybe that's my closing remark. If anyone, maybe Nikos or Anne-Kristin, do you want to? Because I had 5 minutes, I don't want to make it longer. Chip in. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulrich. Thank you. Also, I would like to thank everybody for joining this webinar. It was exciting, the preparation of this meeting, and during the day it was also exciting to meet all you and see all these presentations running smoothly during the day. I think we managed to be on time, just a quarter behind. And we saw many interesting things, and I think it's a nice opportunity to organize it again in the future soon and see more results of our project. Of course, as you mentioned, Ulrich, I will be happy to join forces for a continuation of these efforts in reducing the inputs in organic agriculture and, of course, in general. I can give now the floor to Anne-Kristin to also add a few things.
Yeah, I will be very brief. Thank you very much, and especially also because so many people joined the meeting today, and also people who are not actively involved in the project, and we had some very nice feedback from people outside the project as well, and everybody seems satisfied, even if we had some technical challenges, but that will be better next time, I trust. So thank you all very much.